Welcome to the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel powered by InsideTexas.com. I'm Joe Cook, got Eric Naline alongside me. And breaking news, Bill Norton, Arizona defensive tackle, who just visited for the Orange-White game. He committed to Texas a Monday afternoon it is. And, Eric, I was just writing up this article about how Steve Sarkisian in his post-game press conference on Saturday talked about how they really need to shore up defensive tackle. How they wanted to make sure that this was a position that had the depth it needed, and Bill Norton's addition goes a long way toward doing that. And hey, it's one that you believed would happen, and you made an on-3 RPM pick for him as well.
Yeah, this one went. I guess it went according to plan. I think there was a lot of noise when he went into the portal that Texas would be the team to beat, and that clearly was the case. Had a good visit. The need is clearly there. I mean, these guys, whenever they have one more shot at making a dent in college football, they're going to go to a place where they know that they're going to play a lot, where the scheme fits, and where there's opportunity. And obviously, there's plenty of opportunity. Sark said it. We've known it all offseason. That's the big question. And you know what? They're probably not done at defensive tackle.
The way Stark likes to deploy defensive tackles is we saw 4 last year. Sweat, Murphy, Collins, Broughton, saw some Trill Carter. But not that much. But he likes to have at least 4, and it feels like they had 3 with Collins, with Broughton, and with Tia Savea. We've heard good things about Aaron Bryant and Jere Bledsoe and even Sadir Mitchell and Alex January, but when Steve Sarkisian talked about it, it didn't sound like there was that 4th. And then he even went so far on Saturday to talk about a 5th and a 6th that they need. And so if they didn't have a 4th, this is where you start. They got the 4th here in Bill Norton and our Ian Boyd as we welcome Charlie Williams to the stage. Ian Boyd wrote an evaluation, and he said, Bill Norton has the pedigree of exactly the sort of defensive tackle Texas wants in the 2-4-5 scheme. Nansen, who was the defensive coordinator at Arizona this past year, typically had Norton who is 6'6" and 320 plus pounds, using size, length, and 5 years of college man strength as a nose tackle. So obviously there's some relationship that Johnny Nansen was able to take advantage of, and it resulted in a commitment. How much do you think Nansen really factored into this one, Eric?
A ton. When they got Nansen, Norton was one that I'd hoped would end up going in the portal. Just by looking on tape, I actually thought he was a bigger need than Tia Savea, just because Savea is a little bit more similar to what they already have on campus. They don't have anybody like Norton, and Sark is messaging through the media. We know what he's doing there. He's making sure that everybody knows that, hey, look, we got opportunity here. And so you said they're looking for 4, but they don't really have anybody like him because he's a guy that can 2-gap, hold the point of attack. Going in the SEC, it's a huge priority. So this is a big get. I'm not saying he's going to be a superstar. He doesn't make a whole lot of plays on the other side of the field. He's not going to live in the backfield, but he's going to allow the rest of the defense, the players, to do their job.
He was split pretty evenly between the A gap and the B gap, which kind of shows he's got some versatility. But Coach, you did some evals earlier, I think this month, on all the transfer portal targets. I think even earlier or last week. Yeah. What was your perspective on Norton and what he could bring to the Texas defense?
Yeah, when I wrote about him, I looked at him. I was like, this is the guy you want on the goal line situation. If you want to run, stop the run in the bare front, you put him right over the center, man. Let him just cause havoc and push the pocket. And like Eric said, he can 2-gap. Right? He's big and he's strong enough to do that. And so he lets the linebackers kind of run free and let everybody else make everybody else on the front line make plays. So just a big guy and a big need for Texas, and cheers up stopping the run with a guy like him.
I think you mentioned bare front, and for anybody who's not familiar with that, it's something that you may be most familiar with it with some Oklahoma defenses, and it's 3 down linemen, 2 linebackers on either side, and then 1 off-ball linebacker there just behind him. And so him in the middle, that would make you put him there to make passing lanes difficult, but and usually in like a 3rd down type situation as well, correct?
Yeah, definitely. And I think we'll probably get a lot of that week 2 versus Michigan. Like, it's something they love to run themselves. And so now we got some guys that can do that. And I think that's going to fit very well.
I think there's a good point from our buddy Roaster. Might give Oklahoma PTSD this year. Arizona's former defensive coordinator and 2 defensive tackles could make Johnny Nansen a little anxious. It was a tough debut, I guess. Not a debut, but tough first start, whatever it was for Jackson Arnold in that Alamo Bowl. We'll get Ian Boyd to bump up that story at some point, but Norton and Savea were a big part of what made life difficult from Oklahoma, and I think you could even argue, Eric, that the Oklahoma offensive line that we saw in that Alamo Bowl is better than the one that they are going to deploy at this juncture this year. And now Texas has 2 of the guys who just went ahead and made life really difficult for Jackson Arnold coming into the defense and giving them a rotation that could really, stand toe to toe with the rest of the SEC.
Yeah, not to get too off topic here, but I wonder what the OU fans are thinking about on their Arnold versus Arch Manning debate after this past weekend. I know where I stand on that. But yeah, this Johnny Nansen needs the bodies that he's he's going to start fashioning, and as he gets more of a say. I'm not saying he's obviously not the defensive coordinator, but he's going to have more say. They need more bodies, but PK needs them too. PK likes them like this. This is like the guys that he had at Washington back when they had their best defenses. So you need 2 gappers. Nobody's happier right now than Anthony Hill.
Yeah, that's keeping them clean is what allowed David Benda, Anthony Hill, and Jalen Ford to have quality years last year, and should help this year. But Coach, another thing is we've heard so much about the edge position this season, or this spring, that is, whether it's Barron Sorrell, Ethan Burke. We all saw some flashes of Colton Vosick and Colin Simmons, and of course Trey Moore, who may have drawn the most praise out of all those guys. But those guys are able to get the one-on-one matchups and get the opportunities to rush the passer, show off their skills, because of guys like Norton who take 2 guys with them, or make life difficult for the interior. That's something that I think may be a little underrated, and I'm wondering if you think someone like Norton will be able to open things up for that outside group.
Yeah, definitely. It allows the front end opponent pretty much to be flexible and versatile. Like you can line guys up in a wide 9 and give them a little more room to work on the edge, right? Or you can put them in a tight 7. Doesn't matter. Like he's going to demand a double team because he's so big, and so it allows those guys to pretty much. I call it playing basketball in space, right? You can get a chance to put all your moves just like a receiver to get past the tackle. Like it gives you more opportunity, more space just to work as an edge rusher. So with the guys we have that came in, and the guys that are there, and they're getting better. Like you mentioned with Bosick. Like those guys are going to have a chance to just kind of pin their ears back and just get to the quarterback and get in the backfield and create havoc. And that's something you definitely want.
One of the things that Steve Sarkisian talked about, he didn't just say we need a defensive tackle. He said we need defensive tackles, plural. And Norton was on campus. Obviously, Kenny Baker, Pete Kwiatkowski, Steve Sarkisian all gave all the information that he thought was needed in order to put his pen to paper for one last season in college football. But Eric, there's one other portal defensive tackle on campus, and then they have their sights set on trying to get another, and could possibly do that soon, and another defensive tackle. And if they were able to, go 2 for 3, you add different guys to the room. If they go 3 for 3, you totally reshape the room with the guys that they're looking at.
Yeah, anybody that's reading Inside Texas knows we feel good about them landing Jay Toya from UCLA as well. So we've been saying that they're going to get 2, but it's possible that they'll get 3, with Dominic Williams being a possibility as well. They're just driven to win. They've got all the support they need. They feel like this is the year, so they're going to go all in. And then you know what? They'll probably feel like it's the year next year too. They're just built to last right now. They're gonna win a lot of games over this championship window. The opportunities there. They just need to keep plugging the holes when they have them like this. And it's an embarrassment of riches if you can go get 2 of these guys. And then talking about 3 is just unheard of for such a difficult position to find. But good times are coming. They're doing all they can to make sure that there's no holes on the roster.
I don't think you could call this a weak position, but as far as like across a team, this was the position with the least amount of depth, right? We can all kind of agree on that one. I think at this point, probably still there, right? And if they add maybe one more, then who knows what you're looking at. But with this addition, the conversation starts to change a little bit. If they add one more or even 2 more, it changes a heck of a whole lot. So. So far, Eric, just kind of one last thing. It's still just defensive tackle. they may kick some tires, if that, maybe do one little toe tap at other positions, but defensive tackle seems to be the one that is consuming all their focus, correct?
Well, most of their focus, they'll take a punter as well, is what I heard. But yeah, they're gonna, whoever comes in and they feel can upgrade the roster, that player's gonna get a good hard look, and of course, he has to fit the culture and all those things. But they're being very proactive. I wrote an article the other day saying they're going to be a lot more. There's going to be a lot more activity in the Texas portal than I anticipated. That's when I started to hear that, hey, they're not just going to get one defensive tackle. They're very likely going to get two and maybe even three. But also some other positions they're looking at as well. If they can upgrade, they're going to go for it.
Coach, any parting shots on this one?
Oh man, I'm glad to have a big human on the defensive side of the ball, right? You can't do that after losing Sway, you losing Murphy. Like, it's good to get a guy with a lot of experience and familiar playing against top competition to come in and familiar with Coach Nansen and what he likes to do. I think he can help kind of relate a message to other players. When Coach Nansen is coaching them, like, he really means this versus this, so he kind of gives he's really just a big help to the defense, to players and to Coach Nansen. So
I think a good thing to end on and something to touch on is, this puts him at 86, correct? If we're keeping exact math. So there's still some more guys that still have to leave. But at this juncture, you can see they're churning the roster. They're keeping the talent up to par across all the positions. And they may lose some guys. They lost a very talented walk-on today in Kai Woods, but they can still make a lot of progress. So gentlemen, thank you. We'll have a lot more coverage of this over on InsideTexas.com. Make sure you go to Inside Texas, use the promo code IT1, and you can get 2 months for $1. At this point, that'll get you up through the major official visit season, and you're going to want to stick around after all that. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel. We'll have a lot more over the coming weeks, and the defensive tackle conversation is not going to stop, whether it's Texas continuing to look for another addition from their targets, or hey, we're going to hear about two guys getting drafted at defensive tackle later this week. So if you like big uglies, this will be a good weekend for you. So Eric, Charlie, thank you so much. We'll see you next time on the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel, powered by InsideTexas.com.